You are listening to the SDSU podcast presented by the East Village Times with your hosts Andre Hagberdian and Paul Garrison. Welcome, listeners, back to the SDSU podcast. I'm your host, Andre Hagberdian. This is episode 119. In a little bit, I'll be joined by my co-host, Paul Garrison, as we get into 3 interviews on this episode. This episode is a softball preview for the upcoming season that starts on Thursday, February 8th. If you're listening to this on the day the episode comes out, the season will start today. The softball team in the preseason polls were ranked 24th, coming off of their first ever super regional appearance last season. Those high expectations on the Mesa and for the softball team this year. In this episode, we are joined by Allie Light and Mac Barbara, who were both named to the preseason all-conference Mountain West teams, but both were also named as the players of the years for their positions. Allie was the pitcher of the year, and Mac was the player of the year for the best position player. Both are headed into 2024 with high expectations individually, but also as a team. We'll get into the interviews with Allie and then Mac. We'll close out the episode with an interview with Coach Nuveman, who will kind of give us a recap on the offseason and how she sees the team and the positions playing out over the course of the season. Let's get to Allie Light's interview first. We want to welcome SDSU softball pitcher Allie Light to the podcast. How's your day going, Allie?
Going well.
Thank you for taking the time. Yesterday you were chosen as the Mountain West preseason pitcher of the year by the head coaches. What did that honor mean to you when you heard that?
It meant a lot. It just gave me a huge wave of gratitude of how thankful I am to get another opportunity to play this year.
You were joined on the all-conference preseason team with a couple teammates, Mac Barbara, Callie Decker, Bella Espinoza. It's the first time the Mountain West has announced preseason honors. A, do you guys like that distinction? And B, what do you say about your teammates who joined you on that team?
I would say the teammates that joined me, ballers. I think everyone on our 20-man roster that we're all ballers and all bring a lot of talent to the squad. I think the preseason honors is a cool opportunity. I think the more media exposure that we can get for not only SDSU softball, but just for the Mountain West and for softball in general, I think bigger picture, it's just more media exposure for our sport. But yeah, I thought it was cool, but I'm really looking forward to see all the girls that made it onto the list to compete this year.
So not only were you the preseason this year, but you were the pitcher of the year last year as well, first team all conference. An unbelievable season, and it's interesting to try to find which superlative to be able to bring up. But in addition to starting, you set the school record with 7 saves. Tell us everybody about your game and what you bring. When you go out there and play.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I would say that how my identity as a pitcher is that I am very unique in terms of what I throw in my approach. So I think for me, where my success comes from is absolutely my defense. I know that there was no way I'd be able to accomplish those things that you listed without the defense that I had behind me. I don't necessarily fit the stereotype as most D1 pitchers at this level. I don't throw hard. I don't have a rise ball. I don't necessarily fit that stereotype that we oftentimes see on social media and in different other conferences. But I just like to keep the ball down and let my defense work for me. So honestly, I give my identity as just being unique. And then on top of that, having a pretty dang good defense behind me. So.
Okay, so we live in a day and age, though, where following the trend is what everybody does, right? I mean, for you to be able to have your own identity is quite special, because you had to have been, somebody had to try to get you out of that at some point. So, I mean, tell us about that journey. How did you, become confident in who you are as a pitcher, to not, kind of try to pursue something else or a different path than who you are?
Right. So I think my biggest thing that I have learned coming into my college career is that numbers don't lie. So I think that transferring from the travel ball or the high school level into the collegiate level was just how much softball is going into the side of statistics and numbers and measurements. And so I think once I got exposed to that technology in my college career, of just seeing which way my ball spins, what my tendencies are, what my strengths, what my weaknesses are from just a numbers perspective, is what gave me the confidence to see that not only did I feel like my pitch was a certain way, seeing it on a computer kind of confirmed it. So I think for me, it was just not only having a coaching staff and a team that believed in me, but also seeing just what my numbers were on paper and learning how to apply that to real life situations.
That's amazing. Do you feel like that uniqueness gives you an advantage?
Absolutely.
And then could you talk a little bit about, obviously your team last year, just we're trying to get the whole picture. I mean, you all made history, getting to a super regional. What was that journey like for you?
Gosh, for me, it was so special. I just blush and smile whenever you bring it up. But I think that group was very special and was very unique. I think all of us as athletes were very unique, and also none of us really fit the stereotypical look of a softball player, basically, or what our talents were that kind of fit the status quo, if you will. But I think we just got hot at the right time. We got hot in the Mountain West tournament and kind of carried that momentum into regionals and into a super. So softball is all about getting hot at the right time, and I feel like we executed that.
Now, we talked about the success that you had last year, obviously pitcher of the year, but you're an athlete, you're a competitor, you're always thinking about what you can get better at. So what did you go into this off season trying to get better at?
For me, from a physical standpoint, I just wanted to continue to get stronger and continue to get more explosive. Our strength coach at State has definitely not only pushed me, but our team to kind of reach new limits in that way. And then from a softball perspective, developing an off speed, just from my pitcher brain, there's always ways that I can make my pitches sharper and better. So I think now that I've kind of claimed my identity on the field, it's just continuing to find ways to outsmart hitters, especially since going into conference this year of girls that are going to be facing me for the second and third time. So just finding ways to continue to beat them. But overall, my goal for myself and for the team is to go to Oklahoma City. So on top of not only making personal strides, it's to get the chemistry right on the team as fast as possible.
How do you approach leading the pitching staff, and how do you see the rest of the rotation filling out behind you?
How I look at leading the pitching staff is just bluntly emphasizing that we are all going to contribute. That for us to make it to where we want to be, all of us got to put up shut down innings. All of us have to contribute, and I'm only as good as the girl next to me. And same as far as me, Dee, Cass, and some of the freshmen that we brought in. It's just knowing that it's going to take all of us doing our part to get to where we want to be. So I would say that chemistry, one, leading them, but also two, just finding ways for us to complement each other.
You're from Lexington, South Carolina, if I have that right, correct?
Yes.
And you went to Arkansas out of high school. How did you end up at San Diego State?
Honestly, I entered the portal halfway through my sophomore year. I still have a great relationship with my coaches at Arkansas. I had a good experience there. I honestly reached out to Coach Steifel, and I was just like, hey, I feel really lost in my recruiting process. I'm in the portal. I have 2 weeks to make a decision. Can you please help me and kind of steer me in the right direction? So she she honestly was the one who kind of guided me to San Diego State. She had known Coach Nuveman from her softball career. And so she told me that San Diego State was worth a visit. So I came out, took a visit, and I decided that I was moving to Southern California. So San Diego State was definitely not somewhere that I thought that I would ever move. I never had the intention of moving to the West Coast. I thought it was a really weird place. But Coach Steifel encouraging me to move out this way and build a relationship with Coach Nuveman, she was kind of my driving force.
Is it as weird as you thought it would be?
Yes. Yeah, say it's just as weird, but also just as awesome. So I've kind of gotten over the culture shock going my second year of living here. But now that I got 2 years under my belt, I absolutely love it. So
awesome. Tell us more about Coach Nuveman and just what she has meant to your development as a person and as a player.
Coach Nuvi she's not only my coach for softball, but she's just my mentor for life. I not only the experience that she brings as an athlete of being an Olympic gold medalist, her perspective from being a catcher behind the plate and just that part of her brain of just being a fearless competitor, but also she's a mentor to me as a person of her being a female leader in society. And on top of that, having a family of her own. And I think for me, just seeing that powerful leadership role being owned and executed as a female was super important for me. So I think just her being a female athlete, bringing in that experience from the past and also still seeing her execute some of the things that she learned from softball today is something that I admire and I try and replicate. That's
beautiful. Our last series of questions is just some rapid fire. Let Aztec fans get to know you a little bit, beginning with, what's your favorite food?
Pancakes, blueberry pancakes.
Nice. Is there a spot or do you make them yourself?
I like to make them.
Nice. How about your favorite movie or TV show?
My favorite TV show is Friends. And then my favorite movie would have to be The Blind Side.
So which Friends character do you most identify with?
Monica.
Good call. Yeah. You were going to say you're very...
I'm very like OCD, a planner. I full of to-do lists. So I think that's where I get the resemblance to her.
That's awesome. What's your favorite musical artist or group?
Right now, I feel like it changes every 6 months, but right now I've been listening to a lot of Beyonce.
Okay. All right. How about your favorite professional athlete?
Oh gosh. I would say Odyssey Alexander.
Say that one more time.
Odyssey Alexander.
You'll forgive my ignorance. Tell me who Odyssey Alexander is.
Oh no.
I know. I'm sorry.
So she's a pitcher out of JMU, and she now plays for Athletes Unlimited, and
awesome.
kind of getting into the youth development scene. But honestly, my favorite athlete could be anyone from AU at the moment. I watch those games religiously.
Awesome. How about your favorite hobby?
My favorite hobby, I really like to read.
Very cool. Do you have a particular genre or something that you are particularly into?
No, I read anything and everything, honestly.
Very cool. And then the last one, what are you studying at State, and what is your major, and what are some of those ideas of how maybe you want to use that in the future?
Right. So I'm a general business major. So I'll be graduating with my undergrad in May. And coming out of school, I'm looking to get into coaching. I'm not really ready to step away from the game just yet. So I'm hoping to continue playing or get into coaching or kind of stay in the softball world. So.
That was great. What a great interview. Wonderful to get to meet you and to get this little glimpse. And great luck on the year. And we really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Want to welcome Mackenzie Barbara to the
Yeah.
Is that okay? To to the SDSU podcast. Mac, congratulations! You were chosen as the Mountain West Preseason Player of the Year on Wednesday. What does that honor mean to you?
I mean, it's nice to know that, I'm being considered for Player of the Year again. I mean, all my hard work is being paid off, but to me, it is an honor, but I really want to get the regular season, Player of the Year. But either way, preseason, it just fuels my fire. Like, to get this, it just, the constant reminder to know that I am a good player and that, I've done a lot of hard work to get to where I am today.
Absolutely. And you were joined on the team by some teammates, Allie Light, Callie Decker, Bella Espinoza. This was actually the first year that the Mountain West has put out preseason awards. I guess two-part question. Do you like that the Mountain West is honoring ahead of the season? And then what can you tell us about the teammates that join you on that list?
I personally don't understand anything about preseason stuff because of how they're predicting it, but I mean it is what it is. They can do what they want, but for me, I don't really care about preseason stuff. It's all about how you finish, not how you start. So I mean, that's just my opinion. But I mean, other than that, I mean, it is an honor to get the title, but the girls that got, all preseason All Mountain West, it's well deserved. They are great players, and Bella does a lot for us offensively and also, defensively as well. But, her on the bases and just being a good leadoff hitter is just, she's definitely somebody I consider has a lot of talent. And I just think she's just an amazing player. And, Callie Decker coming in here from Florida, like, she's done a really good job of buying in and, buying into the Aztec way along with Allie Light. But yeah, so other than that, like, those girls, being on the team with them is so much fun. We make a lot of good memories, and we, all four of us together, we create a great team with everybody else that we have on our team as well.
You mentioned you want to be recognized at the end of a season. You have been that. You were Player of the Year in 22, two-time Mountain West first team. What can you tell us about why your offensive game has been so well recognized?
I think, I've heard from a lot of people that I'm just different. I'm a different hitter. Considering I am a left-handed power hitter, you don't see those very often. But I think it's, looking at like stats and like, just hearing what my hitting coaches and college coaches have to tell me, it's like I hit for power and average. So, and I get on base, around 50% of the time, which, you don't really see that very often. And if you do, it's for somebody that hits for average. But, being somebody that hits for both, it's just, you just never see it. And I think I learned growing up, I was a baseball coach's kid. So I just learned different perspectives and like different ways to think. And quite honestly, I don't really think when I get in there. I just hit the bat, or I just swing the bat and hit the ball as far as I can. Just because that's what I've been taught to do, is just go up there and swing the bat and let your power do its thing. And so, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know why, I don't know why my offensive, stands out. I think it's just who I am as a person and a player. It's just what I mainly focus on when I go and hit or, train during the year. Just hitting. I mean, I let everything kind of just do its thing. But yeah, I think I don't know. I do a lot of offensive work. So I just, hit off the tee. I hit off front toss. It's nice to see, some live arm when I go home. I have somebody that throws BP to me, so I guess I kind of see it all year long. So yeah.
Now, in addition to your individual success, the team, made history last year, making it to the first ever super regional for San Diego State. Can you walk us through that journey and your emotions as the team was making that run?
Honestly, it wasn't just me. It was everybody. We all bought into our plan. We all bought into what our standards are. And, we made it to regionals last year, made it to the regional championship. So our goal was to step it up and be better than the last year. And that's what we're continuing to do this year. So hopefully, again, we're being better than every other year. So hopefully this year we're trying to go to OKC, and we will go to OKC, in my opinion, with the talent that we have brought in this year. But overall, it was just everyone buying in. It took a lot of progress and it took a lot of steps to get there. But with the steps, it was, the emotional side, getting in touch with how people think and getting in touch with people's personalities and how to talk to each other and like know what people like to hear versus what they don't like to hear. And like just kind of knowing people on a personal and player level is something that's so important on a team, because if you can't mesh well off the field, you're not going to mesh well on the field. So I think having we did teammate dates, just trying to get to know each other. We did a lot of team bonding. Nuvi can talk about our team bonding experience in Julian. Definitely an experience, but again, like we're making memories off the field in order to make good memories on the field.
That's great. You mentioned all of the investment that your community has put into developing you as a player throughout your life. I mean, how much did they enjoy watching that success last year?
I will say it is nice to, we went and played in Long Beach, and I'm from Long Beach, so it's really nice to play in front of my hometown crowd. Had a lot of supporters. They were so excited to watch me play, and it was just nice because, I had my uncle there. I had, family friends that I grew up with, and it was just so nice that they were able to finally watch me play for the first time in person. I mean, they've always watched me play on like TV or like live stream or whatever it is, but it's honestly comforting to know that I have a lot of people in my corner to support me, whether I have a good game or a bad game. They still come up to me and say, hey, you played great today. And that's something that I probably need to hear on a daily basis. But, at least somebody thinks that I played good, even though I went 0 for 4. But, I appreciate the hype, but, I appreciate the support, but it's nice to have that in your corner.
That's great. And what did you work on this off season as you're preparing for, trying to make history again?
I mainly worked on my mental health. I was not in a good place last season. I had a lot of, family issues. I had a lot of just, constant negative impacts on my life, just one after another. And it just kept going until August. So I felt like I couldn't catch a break. So I really wasn't in like my best headspace. And to me, I didn't really feel like I had my best year. And you can see it at regionals and super regionals. I was just not, the same player I was before, but I've been really working on trying to see, positives of things that happened to me and like trying to figure out, how to have a clear headspace. Cause, in my opinion, when I'm in a good headspace, I'm a very good hitter and I'm a very good defender. I just need to learn how to play free again, like I did back in 2022. But, it's all about learning and growing from who you were, the past year. So just constantly working on like my mental side, nothing physical, never physical for me. I know I can do the things that I'm supposed to do. It's more of a mental side.
I think it's really powerful for you to be willing to share that. Obviously, with the success that you have and the level in which you compete at, I think a lot of people who hear that, will be encouraged. But you mentioned earlier that there's, a lot of transfers that have come in, and I think trying to decipher playing time and all that stuff just is like, wow, there's so much talent on this roster. How intense has, maybe like the competition been, or, the drive that you all have been having with each other to be able to improve and to grow and to reach OKC like you're talking about?
Yeah, I think it's just, there's going to be a lot of changes this year, good or bad. It doesn't, at the same time, our coaches are doing it for the good of our team. So, with that being said, it's just more of a, hey, like, you may not start this year, but, we'll still have you kind of, in the lineup, whatever. It's just more about people accepting their roles and what they are, like, what they're good for the team. If you're a pinch hitter, embrace it. Pinch hitters get a lot of love too. Don't get me wrong. I've seen a lot of successful pinch hitters. I've seen a lot of successful starters. Like, it's just all about accepting who you are and what your role is on the team. I think that's what's going to make a team. Because things can change. Somebody can get hurt, but but the next person's prepared enough to go in and, still be successful, even as a second string, So everyone's going to get their opportunity. Everyone's going to get their chance. It's just about how they embrace it and how they accept it. And again, it's nothing personal. It's just simply what our coaches think is best for the team. So, But in my opinion, it's all about accepting, the roles, and who you are is what's going to make a great team a great team.
You mentioned earlier you're from Long Beach, but your collegiate career started at Ole Miss. So how did you go from Ole Miss back to Southern California and San Diego State?
I was living in Europe at the time when I was in the transfer portal. So I had transferred in 2021 spring. Just didn't work out for me anymore. So I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna go in the portal and see who wants me. Stacey was actually my first phone call, and it was like 6 o'clock in the morning my time, and I was like stunned by my phone being, like ringing in my ear at that time. Thought it was my alarm. But she called me and she was, telling me that she was interested and all of that. And I was, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll let you know. And then I called my parents. I was like, I don't know if I want to go here. Like, I do not want to come home. I don't want to live in California. And my mom was like, just try it out. Just try it out. You never know. You could like it. And I was like, okay, because I'd already had my heart set on one school, but it just didn't end up working out because I wanted to go there for the wrong reasons rather than the right reasons. And I'm glad I did not go there, because I would not have been successful like I am today. But I do appreciate, Nuvi calling me. She was my first phone call. So I do appreciate her being my first phone call. And she gave me a second chance to play, because honestly, like, I was in the portal, but I did not think I wanted to play college softball anymore. Like, after the whole my whole experience at Ole Miss, I just did not want to play anymore. They kind of took away the love, but I'm kind of glad I didn't. And I took a chance on SDSU because I have a lot of love for this sport and I have a lot of love to get back to. So yeah, so I'm back in California, and it feels nice. Feels nice to be close to home.
What has Coach Nuveman kind of meant to you as your development as a person and as a player?
We've definitely had a lot of hard conversations. The person I am now compared to the person I was 3 years ago is totally different. Totally different. I was, not sure of who I am back then. Now I am. And we've had a lot of conversations about, what my future could look like if I just did X, Y, and Z. And also like building personal relationships. It's just, she's been such a mentor to me, and more of a second mom, because I would go to her with all my problems, whether it's life, boys, academics, softball. I would go to her for those problems. There have been times where I was, crying in her office, like, but I've done that with all my coaches. But mainly Nuvi has been like my person, and like somebody that I can go to when I'm in, struggling in a time of need and when I need some good advice, considering she has been at the top level. She has played at the international level with her being in the Olympics. And, with me playing on Team Italy, like I'm kind of like figuring it out, and she's kind of showing me the ropes and like teaching me about, life, life in that aspect of playing international ball and like playing for a national team. So it's been really helpful to have her, because she can show me, a lot of different things and give me a whole lot of advice, since she's been in the game for such a long time.
That's really cool. Last set of questions is some rapid fire fun questions, non-softball related. What's your favorite food?
Italian.
Like specific type of pasta or anything?
Anything Italian. Anything that's not Alfredo, because it's not Italian.
Okay.
It's not Italian. Alfredo's not Italian.
Got it. Favorite movie or TV show?
TV show has to be One Tree Hill.
Okay.
I don't have a favorite movie. I don't like to watch movies. I fall asleep in like 5 seconds.
What about favorite musical artist or group?
Music artist has to be Cody Johnson, country. Love my country music, or Tyler Childers.
What about favorite professional athlete?
My dad.
You said your dad?
Mm-hmm.
What
My
did he
dad
play?
he played professional baseball, went all the way up to AAA.
Nice. Favorite hobby?
Ooh. Favorite hobby has to be going to get a cup of coffee, because it's something about somebody else making it for me that just tastes better than me making it at home myself.
You have a favorite coffee spot near campus?
Near campus, no. There's one. I like to go to a whole bunch, but our team likes to go to Better Buzz. It's always a classic that we like to go to. I mean, I try to find like little hole in the walls here in San Diego, but I don't have like a favorite quite yet.
And last one, what is your major? What are you studying and looking to do post softball career?
My major is health communications. Basically, it is, a lot of research on how to have good patient care provider communication, along with learning how to just communicate with different cultures and different people around you, and having, some awareness and like learning about that, and also learning like different cultures and health issues within their environment, along with their background. But for me, I don't really want to do anything with that. I actually want to be a coach in MLB. Kind of want to start my career in baseball at the college level, and then kind of work my way up to my Major League Baseball.
Great ambition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Matt,
I mean, the end goal is definitely a GM, definitely to be a GM. So
Love it.
you have a favorite MLB team?
I do not. I'm not somebody that's a bandwagon. I like players more than I like teams.
Awesome.
That's great. Great answer.
Max, good luck this season. We'll hopefully see you out there on the field. I think the first game's next Thursday, right?
Yes, sir. 5 p.m.
Have a great season. We'll talk to you next time.
All right. Thank you so much.
We want to welcome back Coach Stacey Nuveman to the podcast. How are you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing great. Other than this wet weather, all is well.
Good.
Yeah, how difficult is that making practice right now? You have alternative plans when there's wet weather?
Yeah, today we actually went to an indoor facility down in kind of the Midway area. Sometimes we just use batting cages like on campus, ours or baseballs. We do what we got to do, but at this point, the main priority is just preserving the field for next week's tournament. So obviously we want to practice, but we're in good shape right now. We're feeling good and ready. We just got to make sure the field's going to be playable so we can get out there and do our thing.
Yeah, the season's starting next weekend, and the Mountain West for the first time announced preseason awards yesterday on Wednesday. Your team was heavily included. You had the pitcher of the year with Allie, you had the player of the year with Mac, you had 2 other players in addition to them on the 15-person all-conference team. First of all, do you like the fact that the Mountain West is putting out these preseason selections?
I did. I was in support of that. As a group, the coaches were asked if that's something that we wanted to do, and it was unanimous. It just allows for some publicity. It allows for some storylines to be created. We all know that it doesn't mean anything, right? It doesn't mean a darn thing.
Yeah.
Both being picked to win the conference or player of the year, pitcher of the year, those are all really nice accolades and nice recognition, but also they don't mean anything. But at the end of the day, I like that's a move that we made as a conference. I think it's, we got to continue to do what we can do to publicize all of our teams, not just us, but all of our teams in the Mountain West. And I think this is a nice little bonus preseason, kind of talking points.
Yeah, is there something the coaches know about McKenna Brocky that made them leave her off after she was first team all conference last year?
Yeah, it's tough. You're picking, I think it was 12 players out of 9 teams. So it's, you're bound to leave somebody out of that. And, it goes back to, you got to spread the wealth a little bit. And we have a lot of players that we see being big pieces of our season that weren't recognized, McKenna being one of them, but certainly doesn't take anything away from what she's capable of doing and what we expect her to do once we get going here.
Absolutely. And I mean, talk a little bit about just, it's obviously, you are with so many people on the all conference team. 8 of the 9 votes goes to San Diego State to be able to win the conference. I mean, how big is the nucleus that you just mentioned, not just the ones who won the award, but who could have been on there and included as well? how much of it of that recognition is a testament to all the work and to the people that they are?
Yeah, I think getting almost unanimous votes from the conference coaches is a vote of confidence to should be for all of us. That's a lot of what we did last year. It also speaks to who we have returning. As you mentioned, the nucleus we have of returners with now super regional experience, is there. It's there. And we not only that, but we enhanced our roster and brought in some really, really big time transfers and some significant people we expect to be significant contributors. So all to say that, we have great depth. We have better depth than we did a year ago, to be totally honest. And, we got ourselves to a super regional. So I like the way that sounds and the way that feels, knowing that we have some competition. We have some depth in just about every position and a lot of maturity, a lot of experience. And I think that, that was recognized. And I appreciate that. Like I said before, doesn't mean we don't have work to do when opening day comes around and every day thereafter. But I like where we are just heading into the first round here of preseason tournaments next week.
And it wasn't just the Mountain West, but nationally ranked on 3 different polls. I think the one poll that didn't have you in has you at 26th. And how did you address? I mean, you had to know these were coming after last year finishing number 18, number 19. That these expectations and returning, as you said, that nucleus. How have you, I guess, addressed expectations and the fact that San Diego State, I think they've been ranked in the preseason twice in the school's history, and so carrying high expectations from the outside is not necessarily something that you guys are always doing. So how have you addressed those expectations, and what do you think about them?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, we haven't talked specifically about the rankings. I think our main point of focus has been in how we're going to approach the gauntlet of a schedule that this person right here is responsible for setting. I think that's really been what we've talked about is that, our expectation, we know what we want to do. We know what our goals are in terms of doing what we did last year and going even further and winning that final game to get us to a Women's College World Series. We were within 1 win of Oklahoma City, and that's still a burn in the belly. It's still a heartburn for us all, knowing that we were that close, and yet that far from punching that ticket to Oklahoma City. I think as far as our task is, we're focusing on us, and we have a really tough schedule. Those first 5 weeks, there's no gimmies. There's no weekend that doesn't have multiple top 25 teams. Literally every weekend we're facing ranked teams. So with that being said, our challenge is how do we keep our heads on when we face some adversity? Because we are bound to face some adversity. How can we keep our wits about us? How can we continue to focus on the process and not always on the outcome? If we can do that effectively and at a high level, we're going to be right where we need to be, both in terms of RPI, in terms of preparation for conference play. At the end of the day, like we want to hit our stride when we get into conference. And of course, I'd love to go out and win, 20 games in the first 5 weeks, but we've got our work cut out for us. So it's about us getting better, about us maturing as a group, finding our identity in this particular team, in this particular season. We've talked about last year, but we're also focused a lot on the future and what we want to do and how we're going to do it. So, we haven't gotten to the specifics of the rankings. I know everybody appreciates it, and all the girls are, reposting and, doing all the things on social media, but they also know that stuff doesn't matter. And all we got to do, if we go out there and play our game, again, learning and growing with each experience, with each outing, I like our chances in the long term, as far as in conference and going beyond into the postseason.
Looking at the Mountain West, how do you assess the level of the conference this year, and what team or teams you think you're going to be competing with to win that conference?
Yeah, so Boise's been our rival, I'd say, the last probably 3 years, 2 or 3 years, really, where I think the two of us have kind of separated ourselves, and that's all due respect to everybody else. But I think two of us have been neck and neck for the last, 2, 3, whatever years. I expect that to be no different. They return their ace in the circle and Taylor Cottle. They've obviously always hit well, whether they have returning players or people they bring in. Justin Schultz does a great job with their offense always, but we know they're going to be tough. Plus, they're hosting the tournament this year, so that's always an advantage to the home team. We know this, right? So, I think Boise's going to still continue to be a challenge for us. Nevada, I think, is always scrappy. I expect them to be the same way. They return a lot of their offense. Pitching wise as well, they've got a lot of their dogs are back. I think Fresno's going to be getting better. I expect them to be. They brought in some good transfers. I think they're going to. They're continually getting back to that place where they want to be a postseason team as well. I kind of think a team that tends to fly under the radar that I know I've got circled is Colorado State. They are returning the nucleus of their team. They can swing it. They're very dynamic. They run. They're just good athletes. They score runs. Pitching wise, I think they're I wouldn't say that the creme de la creme of the conference in the circle, but they're competitive. And I think offensively, they're a team to be reckoned with. So I think top to bottom, I think the goal has been for the conference is to continually get better. So, the conference, the way everyone's scheduling their off preseason tournaments, I think everyone's working hard in the portal to bring in some players that can make immediate impacts. So, the goal continually for the conference is we want to be, and I think we should be, more than a one bid league. We should be a multi-bid league, whether that's 2 or 3. I think we're close to that, if not there already. And it's just our job individually to go out and prove it, right? To go out and win in the early season, set the table, keep our RPIs respectable so that when we go into conference play, we are helping each other rather than hurting each other. And I think that's always the trick is, if you're going in a conference play and you're sweeping a team and your RPI goes down, right? Like that's tough. That's tough when you talk about the postseason berths and things like that. So everybody knows it, right? Like all of us are on the same page of like we got to continue to push it forward to ensure that we are more than a one big league, which is where we all want to be.
Yeah, you kick off the season next weekend at home, but against some top competition. You got Stanford, Minnesota, Kentucky, UC Santa Barbara. How challenging is that first weekend going to be?
Yeah, it's no joke. I mean, literally game 1 on Thursday is Stanford, number 2 team in the country, World Series experience, and I would argue the best pitcher in the country is Nigel Kennedy. So we're gonna go right in and hit it full speed and see what we got, and I have to say like that's a tough game 1. We know this. That's a tough game 1. And I've been really proud and really genuinely impressed, frankly, with my team's response to that because, I wasn't quite sure. Like some of them might be, oh my God, like a little scared of that. And there's a genuine excitement. Like, let's go. Let's see what we got. The opening day, there's never a doubt. There's never a question of whether people are going to be fired up. So first game of the season at home against the number 2 team in the country. I mean, if we can't get up for that game, then I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to get up for a game. So obviously we've got to, make something happen. We've got to find a way, but to get a W, but at the same time, like no matter what happens, I think it's just a great kickoff to the season. Like we're going to have a great crowd. We're going to face a quality team. And again, we're firing on all cylinders. Like we're healthy right now. We're knock on wood, of course. We're in a good place, and I think we're in a good mental place to take on a challenge like that.
From last year, you lost 33 starts. And how's the competition been going, behind Allie Light, for, the rest of the rotation?
Yeah. So, our philosophy with the pitching piece, we're pitching by committee. That's who we are. That's our identity as a staff. That's the buy-in that we have from all of the pitchers. And so that's going to be no different, in terms of like, we're going to play with the combinations. We're going to take our strengths of each individual pitcher. We're going to match them up with the weaknesses and strengths of the teams we're playing. And also the way they complement each other in terms of like, opener, starters, middle relievers, closers, all those kinds of things. So, last year Sarah Lehman took a bulk of starts. Maybe that's Cassidy West this year. Maybe that's CC Salura. Maybe that's Didi Hernandez getting some more starts. They're a really cohesive unit, and they understand that the first part of the year is really figuring out what the combinations are going to ultimately look like and which ones are the most effective. And so you're going to see the same thing. It's going to be a variety of combos and orders of like who goes in this position and all that. And that's part of the fun of the first part of the season. From my perspective anyways, I enjoy that. I love that challenge, that puzzle of kind of what's going to work in the long run and what's going to be a really confident and comfortable rotation that they're all going to get really dialed into. And so, we've got a lot of experience again coming back, and we've, really good freshmen in the circle as well. So it's going to be more of the same. You're going to see a very unique and diverse kind of approach to games as the season wears on.
You mentioned Stacey. You have a pair of freshmen from the class of 2022. How have they handled being able to be? They're going to be counted on, and in a season where the expectations is OKC, and they're going to, you know what I mean, for young people to be able to kind of grow up in that atmosphere. I mean, are they ready to be able to answer that call?
Time will tell. Obviously, anytime you're dealing with a freshman, whether it's a pitcher or a position player, the game is the pace of the game, the speed of the game, the feelings that you get, the feels are just different, and every single freshman has to go through that process of experiencing it, dealing with it, managing it, and then being able to, get on to the other side of it and be successful. I think they both are experienced in that way. I think Cece in particular, she pitched on a top 10, top 5 travel ball squad. So she was a, Rico Firecracker kid. I don't know if you know travel ball, but that's a very high-end travel ball team. They played in all the big tournaments against all the best competition. So she's been in some pressure moments. Now, is it the same? Not quite. But I think when I think about our staff, particularly, the freshmen kind of meshing in with our group, we really do have great leadership in our staff. So we talk about leadership on a team, I'd say the pitching staff is almost a team within the team, right? And with Allie Light and Didi Hernandez specifically, very vocal, very confident, very great communicators. They've got that whole group of 5 really, working together in their own ways, sitting down, looking at film, talking about scouting, talking about bullpens, and watching that group work together. Some of them have, Allie's got a great drop ball. Cass has got a great rise ball. So like hearing them talk about like, hey, Didi's got a great changeup. Didi, how do you throw your changeup? Like my changeup's struggling. Like they chop it up like professionals, and they're college student athletes. So I feel like that maturity out of those two specifically, like I said, Allie and Didi, is really beneficial for the young ones, for Cece and Crystal, as they come in and try to figure it all out. They've got great mentorship in those older upperclassmen that is invaluable. Because I've been on teams that didn't have that. I've been around, whether it was a team or a pitching staff that just didn't have, they might have had seniors, but the seniors didn't take any pride maybe in that role. And these two, they really, really do. And they take pride in taking Cece and Crystal under their wing and kind of showing them the way and talking them through difficult moments or whatever. And that makes my job as the coach that much easier, because we really do want to foster and we encourage what we call player-led program. And that's one specific way where the players are the most valuable and best resources that we have. Because a player, that means more than anything I could ever say as a coach. So for sure, we're in those conversations too, but a lot of times it's very organic and happens just kind of shoulder to shoulder, right in the bullpen. They're, doing their work next to each other. They're talking about what they see, what they feel, whatever. And so, yes, we've got 2 freshmen that we do expect to contribute. But I feel like they're not the typical freshmen, and they're getting really great leadership from their upperclassmen, and that's a beautiful thing.
Julian Solis graduated from last year's squad, obviously playing now at Washington. But she leaves a gap at shortstop. You brought in transfers Katie Goldberg, Kate Barron. They obviously have lots of experience at the position. Are you ready to tip your hand on who won that competition?
I think right now I can say confidently Katie Goldberg is gonna be our opening day starter at shortstop. She is another like plug and play leader that you've been around sports. You guys see teams and hear coaches talk about leadership and the importance of that. Katie Goldberg is truly plug and play. Her experience, her maturity, the way she communicates, she understands how to not just lead, but also to like recruit followers. And that's a gift in and of itself. You can say all the right things, but if no one's listening to you or no one has your, you don't have their respect, it doesn't matter how on point your leadership is. So she's really, I'd say, locked down that spot for now anyways. Making the plays, just the way she runs the infield, the way she communicates. She's been outstanding, and she played 4 years in the ACC, so she's been there, done that, and understands what high level games feel like and high level competition. You could argue the ACC top to bottom is the best pitching in the country in terms of the conference, and she saw great pitching week in and week out. So, she's seasoned, she's mature, and she's excited. She's motivated to do things with this program that she's not done, and that's postseason run and winning championships. So, she got a great education and had a great experience, but also is excited to continue the growth of this program and be a part of it here and leave her own legacy here as an Aztec.
I think seeing her last year of Virginia, as like the power numbers were always there, but the averages, and so the jump this year I think is pretty exciting.
Yeah, she's, like I said, she's a well-rounded player. Just understands very high softball IQ. Doesn't have like this hose of an arm, but she gets the job done. She understands positioning, she understands shifts and all those kinds of things without a lot of direction and coaching. So she's almost like another coach out there, and just very confident in herself as a player and knows who she is, and excited to see her do her thing.
Catcher is another interesting position. Two of your all-conference players, Callie and Mac, play the position. Alyssa Garcia, who you brought in from UCLA, has started a lot of games there. How do you see that position playing out?
Yeah, so I mentioned that we have more depth. That's certainly I'd say almost a 3-person rotation between catcher, first, and DP. Is kind of how it's worked itself out. So truly, I think you're going to see a variation of mixes and combos there. I think right now Mac is going to be either probably first base or DP. I don't know that I see her behind the dish unless necessary. But the three of them, just with their bats, with their experience, we got to have all 3 bats in the lineup for sure. And Alyssa Garcia and Callie Decker both are phenomenal receivers. Really great. They have different skill sets and different strengths and weaknesses in terms of their defensive side, but they can both hit. Again, both mature, both experienced. And so, we got to find a way to get all 3 of those people on the field in any given moment. And, I think, again, that's kind of the trifecta, I would say, of catcher, first, and DP between those 3.
You talked about the depth. Is it going to be a struggle for you and your staff to find enough playing time for all these great players on the roster?
Yes is a short answer. We've had, I can't even tell you, the last probably week, last couple days even. We sit around and we just like stare at each other. It's like, it's really, honestly, we're gonna have a hard time. And it's a, as they say, it's a good problem to have, but it's tough. It's stressful, right? Because we want to get it right, and we also want to, we want to encourage. We want to encourage the competition and the keeping people, there's a fine line of knowing that there's always someone that's going to take your spot if you don't produce, but also not becoming such a thing that it takes you out of your game. Like, you've got to be able to go in when you get an opportunity and perform. There's some peace that comes with when there's nobody on your heels. You know, you can struggle for a couple games and maybe work through some things. You know, right now that's going to be tough. You know, that's going to be tough. It's going to be like, hey, you get a shot. You've got to kind of make the most of it. And obviously, there's always going off of, you know, previous experiences and, you know, as they say, body of work. Right, your body of work expands beyond just the, you know, the last 3 at bats. Right, it's going to expand a little bit longer than that. But we've got a tough job ahead of us for sure to write that opening day lineup and every other game after that. You know, it's going to be a battle and it's going to be a challenge. And I'll be honest, I'm not looking forward to it because I know there's going to be some tough decisions that are going to happen next week and again every other game after that. But all we can do is do our best as coaches to write the lineup that we feel is going to give us the best opportunity to be successful. And we live with what the results are. That's just part of our job, and my job as the person who literally has to physically write it out. It's not a perfect science, right? We do the best we can, and then we make adjustments as necessary.
And obviously, with the transfer portal both coming in and the opportunity to be able to leave, all your players signed up for this. I mean, they saw the roster that was coming back. They saw the influx of talent. This is what they want to be able to reach OKC, as you said. But how have they handled the same dynamic with so many other dynamic players around them?
You know what? It's been really fun to see that. I mean, from day one in practice this fall, every single one of them, they knew they were in for a dogfight. And, you know, again, it comes down to who handles that, you know, the butterflies, who can keep the butterflies flowing in unison, right? Or there's a saying about, you know, butterflies are okay as long as they're flying in formation. Is like, can you keep that, you know, from becoming the thing? If the stress of pressure becomes the thing, well, then you're never going to perform. You know, we know this. Like, the game will eat you up and spit you out, and chew you up and spit you out. So that competition, that level of kind of being on the edge every day, they're now that's what they're used to, and they all have had days where it's gotten the best of them, and then the ones that have I think risen to the top have shown that they've been less affected by that pressure or by that dynamic. And that's what we want, you know. Now, don't think that just because you start on Thursday that it's yours, right? I mean, we want there to be that walk that line of feeling confident in themselves and their position, but also understanding that we've got other people that want to be in the game and frankly deserve to be. So we've got to you know, walk that line carefully, but they're here for it. They're here for it, and the level of desire to be successful, to win championships, to, you know, that attention to detail and intention to detail both is phenomenal right now. There's talk in the clubhouse, the discussions about goals and who we are and what we're here to do. It's at a high level. I mean, I'll be honest, a year ago at this time, we had people in our clubhouse that weren't really all that into talking about winning championships because they didn't want it to get too far ahead of themselves. And it was like, whoa. That's what we're here to do. You know, we want the experience to be special and all that, but don't mistake what the goal is here. And the goal here is to win. And so I think there's a cultural, I guess, embracing of that concept that, yes, the culture is important and we want the experience to be amazing. And we put a lot of emphasis on that, but also we're here to win championships, and we're not going to run away from that. You know, it's not all about winning. Don't get me wrong. That's not the only thing we're about, but it's important. And you got to be ready to show up and perform and battle your butt off every single day, every single at bat, every single game. And that's what we're after. That's who we are. And that's what's important to us.
That's great. That was supposed to be our last question, but in talking to Mac a little bit before you, she gave us a question. So you got to talk about the team bonding and Julian. So what is she referencing?
So we didn't go this year, we went last year. And you know, I'm a coach and a leader that to me it's important. Like I want my team to know me, the authentic me. You know, I bring my family around, my kids, my dog. Like I'm very real with them. They know my sense of humor. They also know how passionate I am about being successful and about winning. But they saw a side of me, I think that was a little bit new because like way down in there, I'm kind of a hippie. Like I kind of have like the granola vibes a little bit. And so you go out to Julian and like that particular location, Camp Stevens is very much like kind of got the hippie vibe going. And so they saw me in my element and they still are just like movie with, there was a coffee mug. I was involved in me with a horse and it's a lot of inside stories, but at the end of the day, like they saw me and I'm a nature lover. And so they saw that side of me and now they just give me a hard time about it. And I'm here for it. I got no problem. Like I am who I am. And it was a really nice experience and a really cool location. So yeah, so it still lives on even though it was a year ago.
That's great.
Coach, we appreciate you taking the time. Good luck to you as you get ready to kick off the season next weekend, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for having us on and for supporting SDSU athletics. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Good night. That's going to do it for us. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our interviews with Allie Light, Mac Barbara, and Coach Stacey Nuveman-Deniz. The softball season starts this Thursday, February 8th. The team has high expectations heading into the season, and hopefully Aztec Nation can join them on their journey. Once again, thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next time. You are listening to the SDSU podcast presented by the East Village Times with your hosts Andre Hagberdian and Paul Garrison.